You must be included in it because it is everything. Unless you take your place in it and fulfill your function as part of it, the Holy Trinity is as bereft as you are. No part of it can be imprisoned if its truth is to be known. The second person of the Trinity is the Sonship, and the Sonship is all of us as one. We need to imprint these words in our minds and to be called upon, when tempted, to see the Sonship as fragmented through judgment and attack. We should not crucify ourselves when so tempted, but we also should not strive to justify our misperceptions. Instead, we should recognize that an attack on another is an attack on God, Jesus, and ourselves, and then ask ourselves if that is what we really want, given its painful consequences. We return to the undivided will of the Sonship, and as we look at more passages from this lovely section, it would again be helpful to think of Jesus' song of oneness and the importance of our relationship with Him, the means of remembering the unity of God's Son. There is no separation of God and His creation. You will realize this when you understand that there is no separation between your will and mine. Let the love of God shine upon you by your acceptance of me. My reality is yours and His. By joining your mind with mine, you are signifying your awareness that the will of God is one. Although we are not yet ready to accept the atonement for ourselves, nor our reality as spirit, Christ, God's undivided Son, we can nonetheless learn to choose the reflection of this undivided reality. We learn first that when we join with Jesus, we choose to identify with His thought system of shared interests and all-inclusiveness. This means we have chosen against the ego's thought system of special interests and exclusiveness. By joining with Jesus, we come to realize that while we are all equally insane, we also share the need to awaken from the ego's dream of separation. It is our purpose to bring this realization with us day in and day out, hour by hour, minute by minute, in all our relationships, and then see how quickly we forget it. We observe without judgment how we read or listen to these inspiring words, and then set them aside when they do not suit our special needs. This means that part of our mind still worships the idols of specialness rather than loving God's Son, our true self. We need to hear Jesus' song over and over until it becomes our own. God's oneness and ours are not separate because His oneness encompasses ours. To join with me is to restore His power to you because we are sharing it. Jesus is quoted in the Bible as saying, "All power in heaven and earth is given unto Him." Matthew 28:18. In A Course in Miracles, however, He tells us all power in heaven and earth is given unto us, with which we joyfully identify when we join with Him and forgive our brothers from heretofore we had seen as separate and apart. I offer you only the recognition of His power in you, but in that lies all truth. As we unite with Him. Glory be to the union of God and His holy sons. All glory lies in them because they are united. The glory of the sonship lies in its oneness, not in the achievements or attainments of an individual such as Jesus. When we see ourselves as separated and unforgiving, we identify with sickness in denial of the glory of God's Son. saying, I am not God's son, but the ego's, and my glory resides in specialness. To undo this lie with truth, we need only see the cost of choosing the special relationship over the glorious union with our Creator, and choose again. The miracles we do bear witness to the will of the Father for His Son, and to our joy in uniting with His will for us. Miracles, to state it again, have nothing to do with bodies or behavior, but with the change in mind from the ego's shadow world of separated wishes to the right-minded world that reflects God's unified will. As we learn much later in our symphony, chapter 16, how this miracle extends through us to others is not our concern. Yet its forgiveness remains our greatest joy, for it washes away our guilt and sense of sin. When you unite with me, you are uniting without the ego, because I have renounced the ego in myself and therefore cannot unite with yours. Our union is therefore the way to renounce the ego in you. The truth in both of us is beyond the ego. Needless to say, this is the reason we have trouble with Jesus. Since we want to join with Him and the ego along with its gifts of specialness, the last thing we desire is to leave the ego at the door and walk into Jesus' right-minded room of truth. That explains why A Course in Miracles is so frightening, and why we must learn to associate His love with joy and not pain, and the ego's specialness with pain and not joy.